You fear your enemies. You watch them with suspicion. But what if I told you that those causing you the greatest pain are the ones closest to you? Seneca, an advisor to emperors, wrote something remarkable. Some of my greatest wounds were inflicted by those who stood beside me. What the Stoics saw is what we refuse to face. The most dangerous people in your life are not the ones who attack you outright, but those who smile at you while hollowing your strength. But here's the twist. The Stoics didn't respond with bitterness or revenge. They turned betrayal into wisdom, building a framework that shows us how to confront fake friends without losing ourselves to anger or cynicism. Today, I'll reveal that exact framework. Despite being 2,000 years old, this method is more urgent than ever, as the world has never been more filled with shallow connections and counterfeit loyalty. Think about your closest relationships. How many truly nourish you, and how many quietly drain you, leaving you second-guessing yourself? This question isn't new. Aristotle called friendship essential to the good life. Cicero wrote entire volumes about its moral weight. But it was the Stoics who went further, offering not just theory, but a practical framework for navigating relationships that wound us. They saw what most self-help ignores. Our happiness isn't determined by how many friends we collect, but by whether those friendships are rooted in virtue or in something far more fragile. The Stoics didn't advise blind trust nor withdrawal from people. Instead, they taught a middle path. How to face inauthentic relationships with clear eyes, a steady heart, and unshakable dignity. That's the path we'll explore today. How to identify, confront, and transform fake friendships without becoming bitter or alone. Before we can confront fake friends, we need to ask, what did the Stoics mean by friendship in the first place? For them, friendship was never about convenience or entertainment. It was about virtue and trust, a standard so high that most relationships we call friendship wouldn't qualify. Seneca was blunt. If you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, you are mightily mistaken. But the Stoics weren't naive. They knew not every bond could or should reach this level. Epictetus reminded his students to enter every relationship with clear eyes, just as he entered a crowded bathhouse, expecting splashing, jostling, and even theft. Instead of approaching relationships with bitterness, they should approach them with preparedness. Marcus Aurelius began each day reminding himself, "The people I meet will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This wasn't cynicism, it was armor for the soul. By expecting imperfection, he could meet people with patience rather than disappointment. The Stoics also saw fake friendships as mirrors of our vulnerabilities. Our hunger for approval, our fear of loneliness, and our attachment to status. These needs can trap us in bonds that slowly corrode our well-being. As Epictetus warned, the price you pay for not being prepared is being afraid. Stoic friendship, then, isn't about collecting people. It's about cultivating those who call us upward and having the wisdom to see others as they are, not as we wish them to be. So how do we know if a friendship is real or just a performance? The Stoics give us a way to see through the mask. First, examine the foundation. Is this bond built on character and virtue or on convenience, pleasure, or advantage? Seneca warned, "He who begins to be your friend because it pays will also cease because it pays." A friendship rooted in transactions will dissolve as soon as the benefits do. Second, notice how you feel in their presence. It's important to focus on your deeper alignment rather than the surface-level emotions. Do you feel more honest, more virtuous, more yourself? Or do you leave diminished as if some part of your strength has been stolen? Marcus Aurelius cautioned, "Take care not to be transformed into what you despise." Spending time with others shapes us, whether positively or negatively. Third, measure words against actions. Epictetus mocked those who spoke nobly of virtue but lived otherwise. The sheep does not show by its bleating how much it has eaten, but by its wool. Likewise, true friends reveal themselves in deeds, not speeches. Fourth, watch how they respond to your growth. A genuine friend pushes you upward, a fake one pulls you back into comfort and limitation. Seneca advised, associate with those who will make you better and whom you can also improve. Finally, look for goodwill. This is not about flattery or use, but rather about a quiet wish for your flourishing, and that can only be revealed with time. Aristotle, whom the Stoics respected deeply, reminded us, Time reveals the heart of everyone. Through these lenses, the Stoics invite us to step back and see our relationships clearly, without illusion, without self-deception. Once we've seen a friendship for what it really is, the question becomes, how should we respond? The Stoics rejected both extremes, blind tolerance on one side and vengeful confrontation on the other. Instead, they offered a middle path rooted in four principles. First, guard your virtue. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. We aim not to punish but to preserve integrity. Gossip, retaliation, passive aggression, these may feel satisfying, but they corrode the soul more than the betrayal itself. Second, examine your judgments. Epictetus taught, men are disturbed not by things but by the views they take of them. Often the pain of betrayal comes less from the act itself and more from our belief that such things should never happen to us. By questioning these assumptions, we loosen their grip. Third, create distance wisely. The Stoics encouraged neither clinging nor cold exile, but appropriate space. Seneca counseled, associate with those who improve you and welcome those you can improve. The process is mutual. If a bond no longer lifts either side, we can quietly step back, not in anger, but in clarity. Fourth, cultivate compassion. Marcus Aurelius asked himself, when people injure you, what good or harm did they think would come of it? To see others' misguided beliefs is to pity them rather than hate them. Compassion doesn't mean enduring harm, but it frees us from resentment. The Stoic response is not about winning against fake friends. It's about refusing to let them shape us into something smaller, angrier, or less virtuous than we are. Now let's examine the practical four-step framework that emerges from Stoic philosophy for confronting fake friendships. Step 1. Clarify your values. Before you confront anyone else, confront yourself. What do you truly seek in friendship? Virtue, honesty, or growth? What boundaries honor those values? Epictetus urged, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Without clarity, every relationship becomes a mirror of our confusion. Step 2, observe without judgment. Don't rush to label someone a fake friend after one mistake. The Stoics practiced patient observation, looking at patterns rather than single moments. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to watch human behavior with the calm detachment he used to study the stars. This perspective strips away illusion and reveals truth. Step 3. Communicate with dignity. When the time comes, speak honestly, but without accusation or attachment to outcome. As Seneca wrote, some words must wait for the right moment. Whether through a direct conversation or quiet withdrawal, let your words reflect integrity, not wounded pride. Say, I notice I feel diminished in these interactions, rather than, you are a fake friend. Step 4. Act with virtue. In the end, action matters. That may mean setting firmer boundaries, reducing time invested, or ending the bond altogether. But whatever the choice, do it without cruelty, gossip, or drama. Marcus Aurelius commanded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Together, these steps form a philosophy and practice. Clarity, awareness, honesty, and virtue. These 4 steps are not tactics. They are a discipline. Follow them and even betrayal becomes your teacher. The Stoic approach doesn't just help us handle fake friends. It forces us to ask more profound questions about the kind of connections we seek in life. First, it challenges our obsession with quantity over quality. In an age of social media, friends, and endless networking, the Stoics remind us a single virtuous bond is worth more than 100 shallow ones. Seneca wrote, regard a friend as loyal, and you will make him loyal. Loyalty and depth require intentional choice. Second, it reframes friendship as a practice of virtue, not a source of entertainment. Epictetus advised, keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. True friends don't just comfort us, they refine us. Third, it reveals something uncomfortable. Our reaction to betrayal is a mirror of our own philosophy. If we collapse when someone disappoints us, perhaps we've been living as if our happiness depends on their behavior. Marcus Aurelius offered the antidote. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Finally, Stoicism reminds us that even those who betray us are human, wrestling with ignorance and false beliefs. As Marcus reflected, The wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. To see such similarities doesn't excuse harm, but it does keep us from poisoning ourselves with hatred. Ultimately, the Stoics impart the knowledge that fake friendships are not mere barriers to overcome. They serve as opportunities, assessments of our character, instances where we can apply wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. We've explored the Stoic approach to confronting fake friendships, a framework that allows us to navigate these painful relationships with wisdom and dignity. We've noticed that the Stoics offer a middle path between naive acceptance and bitter rejection. They invite us to see relationships clearly, to respond with virtue rather than reactivity, and to create appropriate boundaries without surrendering our tranquility. The four-step framework we've examined, clarifying our values, observing without judgment, communicating with dignity, and acting with virtue, provides a practical guide for navigating even our most challenging relationships. But perhaps the most profound insight the Stoics offer is that our response to fake friendship reveals not just the character of others, but our own philosophical commitments. Do we believe that our happiness depends on how others treat us? Or do we recognize with the Stoics that our well-being depends primarily on our virtue? As Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. We cannot control whether others are authentic in their friendship, but we can always control our response. Whether we meet betrayal with wisdom or with bitterness, with firm boundaries or with vengeance. In choosing the path of Stoic wisdom, we not only protect ourselves from the harm of fake friendships, but also transform these painful experiences into opportunities for growth and self-knowledge. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The fake friendships that cause us pain can become, paradoxically, the very context in which we develop greater discernment, stronger boundaries, and deeper appreciation for authentic connection. I invite you to reflect on your relationships through this Stoic lens. Which connections in your life are based on virtue and mutual growth, which might require more careful observation or clearer boundaries? Remember that the goal isn't perfect relationships. Even the Stoics recognize the inevitability of disappointment and misunderstanding in human connection. The goal is to respond to these challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity, with virtue rather than vengefulness. And in doing so, we may uncover what Seneca called the sacred bond of friendship, built not on gain or pleasure, but on the shared pursuit of a life well lived. Thank you for watching. This was The Inner Horizon. If this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear your reflections below. Share this with someone who may need it, and if you'd like to walk further on this path together, subscribe and join me for the next journey.